a work session, so if you wanna just get started. Your items
Let's
of
get started,
discussion.
please.
I'd
Hi.
like
Good
to call
morning.
to order a work session for the City of Trinidad Tourism Board to be held on Wednesday. Okay,
Okay.
9:01.
So I put the actual RFP in your packet for your graphic design
Okay.
proposal. So at your last meeting, you just suggested finding out exactly what your requirements would be for a graphic design applicant. So as it's lined out in the RFP, it lists the scope of services on the second page. So if you want to amend that, or anything that's in there, this was sent to you prior to sending out the last request for RFPs for your review. Nobody made any changes at that time, but since you're going to do it again, now's the time to do it.
Present and analyze everything that's up there. Are you up to it or?
Yeah, I go back, yes.
Yeah. What's up?
And Marty, is this a standard contract with things that you may have updated that we're looking at?
What do you mean?
Requirements for,
For a graphic designer,
for a
yes.
graphic designer, okay, yeah.
This was actually taken from, well, the format was kind of tweaked a little bit. When this last tourism board, I think Jonathan Taylor put it together, and Studio 6 was the
Recipient.
recipient. It was also based on the template that was used when Hess Arts was awarded the contract. So kind of pluck some things from that and then put it into this one.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
I wonder if we should update the title of it from graphic designer to like graphic designer and marketing something.
So you want them to actually do the marketing for the tourism board?
Not the marketing, no, but more about like the development of some of the like taglines we have talked about. And, you know, because one thing I've learned with working with graphic designers, some are very like technical, right? You tell them what to do and they do it and they execute it. And then some are creative and they can come up with concepts, they come up with the whole like plan or a marketing plan or a concept, and then they go through. And I think, you know, more than just the tactician, we could use somebody who has the like creativity side as well, especially after looking at the proposals that we got. I don't know. I mean, I think that's something for discussion, but it's something I've been thinking about a little bit when we first did this. Then I woke up in the middle of the night like, we don't need just a tactician. We need a little bit more of like a full plan.
But I also think we need to be more in that full plan too.
Well, I think part of that process, though, typically, at least that I've been through, and I've been through this on a few projects, they sit down with you and really talk to you, like, what is your vision? What do you want? What are your
agree.
goals?
I
And there's a
agree.
whole process
Right.
with that. So we give them that information, and then they give you like thumbnails, and then you choose a few, and then they develop those concepts, and then it's, you know, it's a developmental process.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right, but I still think, I don't know, I don't.
I read in 5280, Kathy Ritter, she used to be the tourism director. She's now gone on her own and she does she can come in and show you how to market your city.
Oh, good. She's
So
good.
she's right in there at the, so, and I tried to find that article and I cannot find it in that 5280 I had. But you could look it up.
Because you mentioned it to me the other day, I emailed her. She
Yeah.
emailed me back and saying, yeah, she was doing,
Yeah.
just to.
But I
no,
think
nothing big, just to-
down the lines of what you're talking about is, and I think we have to have a vision of and not get off the course of one, but just like a direction as to where we're gonna go for the next couple of years in marketing the city. And then that way our advertising just falls in line with that.
I agree.
But you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You have a good idea. You mentioned that the other day when I saw you about Kathy Ritter, so I had her personal email. I emailed her. I just said, hey, I heard that you're doing this. What's your fees? And she said, hey, I just got back from vacation. Give me a little bit. I'll send it off to you. And I was going to give it to Marty. It was not a conversation. It was just like, I heard you're doing this. What are your fees? But that's it. I didn't know how we would use her. Just because you said that, I thought I'd make the contact. But that's a great idea. I don't know if it's a cost for her to come here, if it's $50 an hour or $100 an hour, to come and have a session with us. I don't know.
Even if
You know,
we
you
can get,
mentioned something, I rolled in my mind what you're talking about, and I was thinking about if you have graphic design and tourism concepts or something like this, something around, I think that's what you're talking about. But it's not directed to any one particular thing, but just kind of an overview of the graphic designs with the concepts which kind of fall into that, but.
Graphic designs and tourism, you
Yeah,
know.
something like that.
Yeah.
So you have a line item in your budget, it's outside contract services. So, Studio 6 and some of the other marketing agencies that have been hired by the board previously, they did all that. They had a huge umbrella that everything fell under. So they created logos, they created a marketing program, they created the visitor guide.
Right.
So if you're looking for more of something like that,
I think at this point, that's what we need to be looking at, because I think we're just going in with this state park. I went and seen that thing the other night at the state park. And I don't know how many years it's gonna be from point A to the last part of it, but I think we need to be on board with them, the way they put that together, but marketing our city along with that, because,
so you're looking for a marketing agency.
I think that's one of my things, I think.
It depends on where you're going. I mean, do you want a new visitor guide? Do you want a new logo? Do you want?
Well,
you
see,
want
that's
just
where I think, I didn't
recreate
think we were
everything?
ready for a logo. I was more looking, maybe I'm wrong, I was kind of looking at magazines ads and stuff like that.
That's
Not
graphic
necessarily
design.
doing the logo, and I think that's where we were talking about it, they heard that, and that's where the conversation went with the logo. And I don't think that's where we wanted to go quite yet with the logo. We're okay
And
with it, I
could
think
just-
there's other
yeah,
things.
I could just give the board a little background information on one thing the board did at one point, based on what you guys are saying, and it was with Hess Arts. And so we went ahead and did the full package with Hess Arts of everything. And at the end of the 2-year period of time, during that period, we made something like $250,000 in tourism tax money, and we paid about $145,000 in labor fees to them. And so we only had so that's kind of how Jonathan and Marty has gotten in the thing. It's like, well, so how do we balance that? Can we get somebody that does graphic designs and tourism ads in magazines, and then to offset Marty's salary and what we paid her, and so that's the reason why we ended up pulling back from them, because at one point we go, whoa, we got a guide that year, and the guide cost $60,000. And we're like, oh, we only have $40,000. We can't help the public. We can't help anybody.
Yeah.
So that's how we pulled back from that. So just a background while we go down that. Is
How many
the
years
thing-
ago was that?
Maybe
Yes.
about 6 or 7 years ago,
Oh, more than that.
about 4 or 5 years, so 13 years ago to
About
8 years ago. Well, the tourism, maybe about that, yeah.
So the thing of it is how did we come out of Studio 6? We came out of Studio 6 with the visitor guide, and what else did we come out of Studio 6
Well, they
with?
worked jointly with the city
Yeah,
as
so
well.
that's what,
So
that's
they
the
So that
design
was-
did studio, yeah.
Right, so they designed city logos and I mean,
So-
they did a lot for
Yeah,
the
they
city
did
as
do
well,
that.
so it was balanced between the two.
Yeah,
So
right.
you did get the new logo,
Uh-huh.
you did get the visitor guide. And one of the good things that came out of that as well was that those materials were yours when you were done,
They were.
so that you can continue to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was something that didn't happen
With
before
Hess's.
with Hess Arts. I mean,
That's in
No.
here that we retain the intellectual property rights, though. I see that,
exactly.
and that's
So it's
important.
in the RFP.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now,
Yeah. So
is the city doing anything, Mayor?
I now know, as far as like
Marketing, no.
marketing, no, but we're leaving it all up to the
So-
tourism board to do that.
Like I can always really speak from like what we do as a business and owning a brand. You know, we started and we did everything ourselves, and it was not very good, I'll be honest. And then we had a partner, they asked us to do rebranding, and we went through a whole process. And I do think, you know, as a town or as a business or as whatever, doing some rebranding every several years, or maybe, you know, 10 years, 12, whatever that isn't a bad thing. And because Trinidad has had kind of monumental change, and frankly, I think COVID also has completely changed how we as people visit, travel, explore places. You know, maybe it is time to revisit that. I don't know.
Well, it has only been 3 years.
It's only been 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said
They
13.
rebranded.
No, that
No,
was
that
for
was
Hess,
with
the
Hess.
Hess
Oh,
Art
That was,
Store.
Yeah.
that was
Yes.
actually the first one.
Studio 6 just did the rebranding
About 3 years ago.
Okay.
So
And
that's
so
why I
you
said we're
need to
not
give
talking about a
yourselves
logo.
time for the public to become familiar with things. I mean, Nike Swish didn't
Yeah.
catch on for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Although I think
And they paid
this
for
logo is
25
supposed to
bucks for that
be
logo.
architectural, but to me it looks like a Jeep grill. Every time I see it, it looks like the front of a Jeep.
Well, because I knew the background to it. I've always been fond of it. So when Studio 6 did it, they said, you're hip and cool, you have architecture, so that's
That's
supposed to be like the
architecture
top
of
of
our
the
buildings.
architecture. And so, you know, they designed a few that year. They designed this one, and didn't we work on the city one that year?
So
So
if
the
you
city
look-
changed that year with them too.
Yeah, we changed our logo
Yeah.
as well.
The cities is nice, yeah.
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 And so it falls in line with that logo.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
thing,
only it's
and,
the fun part of it.
and the thing now, at that time it was architecture, and now there seems like there's more sporting events that are coming.
Well,
The
and money.
trails, the rad bikes, you know, and the more the fishing, we have somebody new at Monument Lake, you know, it's just opening up to
It's
a
just
lot
something
more.
you can't do
Oh,
everything.
handlebars on that.
Yeah.
Well, I do think like, you know, what brings the most revenue? Is it recreation or is it people looking at our buildings?
That's
You know,
right.
one of the things
Uh-huh,
that you may
both,
wanna
I
try to
think.
do is work
I
with
do
the
think
parks.
both.
But do we have any data?
Work with the Parks and Recreation, because Jared has the, Trinidad True Outdoors logo.
Right.
And I think if you incorporate that together with advertising,
And we have.
and that's, I think that might solve some of the problem.
And
Yeah.
we have. So the Trinidad True Outdoors is what's actually on our billboard at Monument.
But I
So
don't think a whole marketing plan is necessarily a new logo. I mean, a logo is one
Right.
tiny piece of that,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, if we were to say, talk to Kathy Ritter, who I think is fantastic,
Right.
so I might be a little biased in this.
No, yeah, I understand.
I think, you know, if we were to work with somebody like her and come up with a plan and then execute it, looking at maybe some kind of a company to take over, and maybe the logo isn't part of it, but maybe they recommend that we do that. Maybe they say, no, this logo is fine, and kind of, but what is the overall, what is our messaging, what are our goals specifically? So, you know, the logo is, I think, just one piece of many pieces. And so if we decide to stay with the same logo, then we stay with it, that's fine. And if we decide to go with a larger overall plan than that, I mean, I don't know, it just feels like, I feel like as we're doing these things, we don't necessarily have our destination in mind. We're just kind of going all over because it's all pretty.
But one of the things you have to keep in mind is that when they did this rebranding, I mean, we just started to look at that time with Fisher's Peak. It was
Yeah.
just basically starting.
Yeah.
Now
So,
we
and I think what you want to do is, when you look at a rebranding, something that's going to last for 5 to 10 years, there's going to be some changes in between there.
Yeah.
We just don't know what they are.
We do, that's why we're navigating this way, because we don't, and if we go in to rebrand everything right now, who's to say after that is a little bit more theme, 2, 3 years down the road, then we want, this is old stuff if we do it now. And we've got to see that jagged theme where we're going, because we don't know where we're going
But
right now.
the one thing, if you look at it, is you look at the last 3 years, our vision was to get to where we're at today, so we're there.
Yeah.
So what we were doing 3 years ago with Studio 6 has totally changed.
Oh,
You know, so 3 years is a long time ago.
And it was
If you
before
think about
COVID.
it, if you think about it now, and 3 years from now, maybe, there may be more added. But we're so far into new things than we were 3 years ago. We never even thought of a bike thing. It was our vision, but we're there now.
So,
And what the RAD did with Broad on Main Street was, I believe that we are ready for some new things.
well, and maybe you can create a framework that allows for that growth and that evolution. I mean, the one thing that is unique in Trinidad is I think there's changes happening here faster than any of us. I mean, it's rare to see a town change so quickly. You know, I mean, I spent a lot of time in Moab when they first got mountain biking, and it changed pretty radically. But they already had tourism infrastructure because of the national parks, right? And I think what's happening here, I was just talking to an architect, and he's like, there are no towns around that have, he's got 15 projects in town. You know, and he's like, there's other towns that are well established that would love to have as many of these projects going on as we do. You know, I think we just don't even know what's gonna hit us yet, you know?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
I
I agree with the Fisher's Peak, like that wasn't even a park 3 years ago, right? It was maybe an event.
But one of the things I think about is what the Greenway Foundation has done. I don't know if anybody's followed that, but that's gonna be a huge transformation of this town, just with that river. So there's things that are coming here in the next 3 years that,
And we could plan for the future to look at that. So if we get a marketing partner thing, we can look for that. Because even with Studio 6, it took a couple years to get where we were with them, back and forth, and them coming down. And they were very gracious at coming down.
They
It
really
takes
were.
time.
And
They were really
we
great.
worked both, they came down for the city and they came down for us, so it did take a while to negotiate that with them. You can't speed anything up, you know, it just,
They were out of Boulder in Kansas City, and you were
Yeah.
right, they were very gracious.
and they were good, and but it took a little while, so if we get started now, maybe 2 years down the road, we could look at a new, because this one is still only 3 years old, maybe they have come up with an idea, but by the time we finalize it, it will be 2 or 3 years down the road, because that's how long it takes, nothing is, yeah.
You know, something that you might consider is, I don't know if you remember back when I'm not sure how many of you listened to my State of the City address. And one of the things that I mentioned is that we need to take advantage of our assets. Now, I think what you do is you look at what assets do we have in this community. So far, we've been taking advantage of a lot of them. We've got the Wormhole, we've got the Boulevard, we've got Fisher's Peak, Trinidad Lake, we have Monument Lake, we have the golf course. And one thing that I think the next piece of this, of course, like next two pieces, is the River Bottom and Simpson's Rest. So what other assets do we have in this community, in the area?
Right.
and that's an inventory of our assets.
That's an inventory.
And how do we market them?
There you go. So I think you look at that and you can that can kind of put you, like you're saying, the end result. What does that end result look like?
Where are we with the Greenway? Is things moving forward with it, Phil, or?
It's, there's an issue there right now, not with the Greenway Foundation, but with some of the other partners. We're working on it.
They're working through the grant process,
Yeah.
So
how to
can
fund them.
we sort of agree on something maybe a little bit more robust than just a graphic designer? I mean, we may need somebody just to do a little contract stuff just for the immediate needs for some magazine ads until there's a bigger plan. I mean, I don't know what.
Totally open to.
You know, it's just like Phil said, take an inventory of all the things that we have, and you know, just like a person like Kathy Ritter, she's been involved with the state. She kind of knows where a little bit about the city. Maybe she can give us some direction as to where we should go with the amount of stuff that we have now. You know, do we just need graphic design services, or should we take a bigger step and move forward?
The
You
other
know,
part is,
so-
like I said, you know, you have the rad bike events, and you know, if this caveman event becomes an annual thing, you know, these are huge things that really are changing. Even though the caveman thing is 36 miles, but still it's part of
Well,
Everything can
Trinidad.
get funneled through.
If you take an event like that and you get a lot of people, they are going to have to stay more places than there, so that is gonna funnel into Trinidad.
Yep.
you know,
absolutely.
Well,
so-
and those events introduce
So,
people to a town
you
like
know,
Trinidad, and then those people come back.
for the amount of money
That's
that they're asking for and what they're gonna spend, you know, and they're expecting a bigger crowd, you know, they are gonna need
Yeah,
more-
because
more
they're
motel.
right now,
And wanna make sure
just
that we're
lodging
really,
motels is very hard up there.
that we're good for Marty too. So, you know, maybe some language, something besides the graphic design, and maybe some language that says something like, maybe asked to contact, local or national magazines, maybe asked for, I don't know, something like that, and put, or for graphic design services and other tourism-related duties, or I don't know.
I mean, I've never worked with a PR firm, but is that what we should be looking at instead of a marketing firm? I don't know. I know.
Well, I would think, I don't know, you're right, but I would think a PR firm would happen under a marketing firm. A marketing firm would say, you need a PR person.
Mm. Yeah,
Is it
I don't know
PR
which, I don't know which one is the chicken and which
Yeah,
one's
right.
the egg.
Right.
I do know the marketing, or I did ask about the PR firm that Frisco uses,
Uh-huh.
and they said they did it through an RFP and they have a good firm. And I can look for that email with the name of it, but I don't know beyond that. Because some of it is who's sending out the press releases to get the free press, right? That's more PR, and marketing is more
Yeah.
paid press, right? I think.
So right now we have, the city has hired a social media person, so Sarah Dixon. She does all our social media. I've been handling the magazine ads, and Chris and I work together on radio ads, and so we all kind of piece it all together to get all the areas of marketing and advertising that we need to do done through that process.
So is Sarah posting the Visit Trinidad site?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great, Marty. That's
Yeah,
really great.
and then we have our web designer, so we have, so all of these different pieces are all advertising and marketing. So if you, it's all kind of been taken care of that way. So if you want a marketing and advertising firm, you would take all of that, all those pieces and put it under that umbrella?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think a firm
So
can
what
create.
piece are you missing, do you feel?
So what I think is just the plan, so that all of those pieces work together in conjunction, and so they all get, like, all of the design elements come together, the taglines are all consistent across the board, okay, if we're marketing to outdoor recreation, this is what it's gonna look like. If we're marketing for art and design, this is what these are gonna look like. And these are the templates that we're using across all of those boards. So there's consistency for all of them. And they're gonna hopefully give us the templates that then we can execute either on our own or through, one person who does those things, or through the people who currently do those. But there needs to be some kind of, like a bus driver.
Like, one of the things that you talked about, Marty, is like, we have Jared, he's pretty much recreation. He knows everything that's going on on the recreational end. And then you have Sarah Dixon. I think maybe what we need is a little collaboration with all of us as to where we're gonna go with all of this. I know Jared's doing a lot all the time. He's putting things together, and I just think that for us to make one plan for the city and we all stay on it is I think the direction where I would
So
like
that's
to
why
see.
we have to get with those people to work together, so we can work together.
Well, just have a plan.
And have a
All of
plan
us,
of
all
what
of
we
us
can
have
work together.
a work session, so we're all advertising for the same thing. We're all.
Yeah, you need to look at some of the other boards and commissions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because we don't want to take Sarah's job.
Well, like
Yeah,
the arts, the arts
Right.
Yeah.
board
Just
commission, they should be involved with
I'm
this
sitting
too.
here thinking what Marty's thinking. Everybody's throwing thoughts her way. But what I do think I think it's a great idea for us all to meet together. But the other thing I'm really hearing from you, which I like, is sort of like Debbie Wagner works for the city of Trinidad, and she does information that we know is coming out of the house and stuff. What you said to me kind of piqued my interest. Everyone in this room is a PR person for the city of Trinidad, right? We're all talking about Trinidad wherever we go. Well, what piqued my interest about something that you said is, if we want people from downtown Denver to come to Trinidad, do we have a PR person that is located somewhere downtown? That might not be a huge amount of money, hopefully, but that actually goes to the functions in downtown Denver and makes sure Trinidad's name is in all those downtown functions and becomes sort of a PR person when we can't go to all the bike shows that are going on downtown. That kind of piques my interest a little bit, because I think that PR person or goes to if there's something big going on in the state. And we don't, I like that idea though, a PR person, because we're all PR people.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's big pockets we don't get into because shared life goes on and we're all working in Trinidad or doing stuff. But, yeah, I like the idea of a PR person that goes beyond what we currently.
I just know when I write press releases for our business, I get a lot of traction out of them. And I've gotten our business tens of thousands of dollars worth of free media through press releases.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. That's the part that I like, is somebody actually being in downtown Denver when there's something going on and saying, and in Trinidad, they just have 47 new miles worth of roads. I mean, that's what, you know.
And I
Well,
mean,
you
do we have a,
have to extend that a little bit further, because there are other parts of the state
Yeah.
that they have,
Exactly.
you know, there could be
Yeah.
stuff
and do
Yeah.
you,
in, there could
right.
be stuff in Grand Junction, there could be stuff.
Buena Vista.
How far do you want to
Yeah.
extend
well,
this?
do we
PR?
have a booth that we use like at the tourism what's the governor's conference every year? Is there a big
We used
Trinidad
to have
display?
sort of.
We do have flags, and we have different things, but there's not, it's not something that we do like at the governor's conference. Governor's conference is more an advertising, I mean, those are the vendors that are there, you know, the big Miles people, the
Or like
big
a
vendors.
Taste of Colorado, for example, that happens over Labor Day weekend. A town like Trinidad could have a booth there and, you know, really promote our town with that. I don't
There's
know.
a
if
million
you know,
opportunities
yeah.
across the strait where
Yeah,
it's
there's
no
no
state
shortage.
that you could actually
But-
have
The
a
big thing it
presence
boils
at.
down to is that you end up having an additional employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. What
Yeah.
the cost will be for, you know, travel and night
Oh, yeah.
expenses, all that
That's
stuff,
huge.
for things that go along.
You can do those on per diem instead of an employee though. I think you can do them as a like you
Contract
have-
labor type thing.
Yeah, some contract labor for just those days.
Yeah, and then you have to take into consideration that you're gonna have to interview these people so that you have contract laborers now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Or you could just
Or
send me.
maybe you piqued our interest enough to think that we, as a board,
Yeah.
should pay attention to when all those things are, and each of us go to one when there's a huge one going on or something.
Yeah.
and
we have
talk.
trouble making a meeting twice a month, guys.
I know,
Yeah,
but
and
I'm just throwing out
the
ideas.
logistics I understand, because I mean, we do
And
events
I
too,
have
and
a
I don't do a
business
lot
and
because
it's
I don't have
very
the
hard.
staff.
We just don't have the
Yeah.
time.
I could joke and say send me, but I do have a business
You
and I
have a
can't, it's
business.
hard.
Sari has multiple things that she's
Yeah.
working on.
But I don't,
Dawn has her own business. I have 3 hats that I wear just for the city of
But
I
Toronto.
know.
you end up having to find someone that's retired, that is still able enough to drive and travel and do that.
Yeah.
That's basically.
And then has the passion to present.
That's right.
let's
your
send
town.
Liz. She'd be a great ambassador.
Someone that's very flexible.
Yeah, Liz,
Yeah.
Liz.
So for a marketing person, you need to figure out what you need this person to do. You know, is it that everything that's under that umbrella so that you keep it all as one concept and one idea, and that person has everything that you know they want to project as your marketing person? So your website, your social media, your radio, your print, your everything under one umbrella, and then instead of trying to gather the Sarah Dixons and the Marty Hackett's and the, you know, the Chris's and everybody together to make sure that we're all on the same road, you have one person that's doing everything, and that's what the Studio Sixes do. That's what your PR company does. That's what those firms do. Right now, you have it piecemeal here and there. So
I
it's
think
gonna
I
be
would like
hard.
to talk to all of our people and see what their thoughts are. You
You know, everybody's got different ideas of
and
how
maybe we
to
could come
promote the
together.
city.
Exactly.
How to promote
You
the
know,
city.
just like us, we want to get it right. That's what I want.
We
I
wanna
just
know
want to
what
get it right.
Jared's thoughts
So I
are.
want to have everybody involved as to let's get it right. Let's use our heads. We're lucky with the tourism board because we have the money to help each one of these individuals take us to a place where we want to be. And I think that's what we need to work on is something like that.
So then you have to keep in
So-
mind your budget.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so you
We
have a
just-
certain amount of dollars.
And
And where, how much are you gonna use for your marketing and your advertising.
Here's the thing
Where
is,
does it
if
go?
we have a conversation with each one of them, Marty, it's not costing us any. It's about
Oh, no.
getting all of that together and going in one direction, all of us.
Oh, absolutely, I
You know,
understand what you're
so-
saying, but
so-
what I'm telling you is the bottom line is, when you are deciding where you wanna go with your
Mhm.
marketing, your advertising,
Right.
keep in mind the amount of money that you have to spend and whether or not you're gonna take it away.
Yeah, she's
From
really
these-
right. That's what happened to us. We ran out of money because we got this big contract with
Right,
Hess's,
but-
and we were always down to a penny.
I think
But did that ever happen when you had Hess or when you had Studio 6? Did everybody get together and say, this is the way we want to market our city?
No, it's great.
So,
You're right.
so
We did that.
did we get with the Arts Council?
Yeah.
The
You're
city's created many boards.
Yeah.
a lot of boards.
You know,
You're right.
they've created a lot of boards that are really there to promote the city.
Yep.
You know, so I think if we get on the right page, you know, you have Parks and Rec.
Always had Parks and Rec.
But were they part of Studio 6 and Hess when you were marketing the city? How about Arts Council? Were they part of Hess or Studio 6?
Actually, they were at the table when we talked to them
See,
about
so
this.
that's who
So
we
was
need.
the Chamber of Commerce, so was.
You also have the historic preservation.
Right.
So,
you
yeah.
know.
So I actually think it would be worthwhile for us to talk to Kathy, because she might be able to help us take all of these different ideas and help us streamline like the best way to go forward. I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess is what she's doing, if we can get more information. And then, figuring out what her fees are, and then like how do we create a roadmap, and then what is the best thing? Do we hire a PR firm? Do we hire a marketing firm? Do we just do that design deck? I mean, that's what I have for my business, where it tells me all of the fonts, the colors, everything that we use consistently across the board, the types of images, and the sort of aesthetic.
We have that.
And
We do have that.
that happens in all of those different, for every single, like does Parks and Rec use the same one that tourism uses, that the city uses, or is that consistent? And it doesn't need to be consistent, I don't know.
Well, I think consistency is important, but we do have that. We do have the fonts and stuff. But yeah. So what is the first step, guys? What do you think the first step would be?
Well, I think we're still kind of split up as to which way we want to go, but I think that the direction I would like to go is everybody getting together and creating a plan as to how we're going to market the city. So,
But I think we need somebody to facilitate that, that's not us. Somebody who is outside and objective and can sort of listen.
Well, I
and
think
listen.
you need to, I think you get together just to kind of see where everybody's at, and then you bring in your facilitator after. It might be a 2-part or 3-part
Right.
thing.
I
But you need to kind of get
think we need
together,
to.
get some thoughts of what everybody's thoughts are, where everybody, to understand where everybody is going and what they're doing.
I just don't
Then
want
you
to bring
bring them-
Kathy Ritter in and say, this is what we're gonna do, everybody. I just
She
want
should.
I want to
everybody.
be fair and
You're-
impartial. I am a federal
It's just,
registered
it's
facilitator.
just like us trying to find
I'm a pretty good
our city
facilitator
manager.
too,
Uh-huh.
I mean, but you need us, you need a protocol.
We went ahead and decided who we were gonna pick, but we tell that firm what we're looking at. They might have some additional ideas, but they need to take, what we put in front of them
Right.
and incorporate into what they know that works best as well. So
Right,
it
I
needs to be a
agree.
merging of all minds in that process.
one of the things now, Marty, is how many advertisements do we have? Do we have commitments that we have to make now?
You have some ongoing throughout the rest of the year, yes. You
So-
probably have about 12.
12?
And that's what I was focusing on, is our magazine ads, really. But that's just because to relieve you on some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really going for a logo or anything right now. I was doing more the magazine area, and so that's what I was thinking more. But I don't think it's a bad idea to get everybody together and at least focus, because they all do magazine ads. They all do everything. If we're part of it, we should be part with Jared and saying, this is the ad we're advertising with,
Well, he's
and I'm
got
sure
some-
you do talk to him.
He has some good stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't know that any of the other ones.
It's so
What's
true.
like Parks and Recs? What's
Parks and Rec doesn't do any
They
advertising.
don't do no
no, but what do
advertising.
they have going? What are their visions?
And their
You know, what are-
connections.
what do they, what
What
is their
would they
vision
like
for
to
the
see?
I'm on that committee. I don't think we know right now.
Okay, well, we
I'm
don't.
gonna just put that out there.
Yeah.
We don't know right now.
I think we ought to get together
And
with all
maybe this will
of them.
help all streamline all of us to do better. I mean, you know, sometimes when in the early days of the tourism board, when I was lost, I would just go to a city that was like us only 10 years in the future and find out what Manitou Springs was doing. Or finding out a like community that we would like to be more like. And I know we used Scottsdale, Arizona a few times because they had enough money to pay people to figure out what was the right way to go.
So in Parks and Rec, one of the things we are looking at is Fruta, and I think Fruta is not a bad example for
Uh-huh.
Trinidad, because they had nothing going on except for some mines and a little bit of agriculture.
And they have been here before, many times,
They
haven't they? They
Yeah.
have.
When
And
we
they-
did our bicycle.
Right, right.
And they
Yes.
put together a huge master Parks and Rec plan,
Oh, yeah, we heard
primarily,
it. We heard-
you
yeah,
know, and
we heard
focused really on that element. And now people go there instead of Moab because
Right.
it's that much closer and all of those things. I mean, a lot of people still go to Moab. Don't they?
Right, yeah.
But, you know, because they are similar, I think they're smaller than we were. But, you know, it just, they have the Colorado National Monument, which was a state park, I believe, until it became a national monument.
Yeah, well, they had come down to talk to us. They've
Actually, 3 different times. I can
Yes.
send you that
Yeah.
profile if you
But,
want
I
to
mean,
see
I
it.
think just to size part, like looking at towns that have done a good job marketing themselves and what they have really done, that are small, that have some of the similar attributes and things like that.
And I think I think Tom, you brought or what did you guys brought it up is just us all getting together as a group at once. The synergy of us talking about what we're doing will help us gain momentum for us all to maybe be better. And I think that that's a great idea from everything from all the different groups. And all
But
the
I think
different
you need like
boards.
one spokesperson for every person, or for every group,
Yeah.
because you don't, too many cooks are gonna
Yeah.
be really problematic.
You know, you were saying just a minute ago that I guess the Parks and Rec kind of don't know where they're going. I guess that's what you're saying.
Well, I think we have a new charge and we're just beginning on it.
And I think what would happen there is if you bring everybody together, if there is one of those groups that's kind of floundering a little bit, they might be able to pick up from everybody a direction where they need to go. So it begins to gel everybody together around a common vision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's
Well,
our
one of
Okay,
the
so
things
that being said then, so do
Yeah.
you want to invite the city boards together to discuss the future of the marketing of Trinidad?
I would,
Great.
I would like to, I
I
would
think
like
that's
to.
great.
And then we could maybe involve Kathy Ritter.
But before we do that, how is it, what's the protocol and how is that gonna be facilitated? Because it'll be a hot mess if there's not a
You know,
process.
one of the things I think would be a good idea is, what are they working on? What is each one of those boards
Yeah.
working
Yeah,
on?
like agenda,
What-
bring the-
What are they working on now, you know?
And what each one
what's-
would like
what's-
to see in the future.
What's
what
their
they're doing,
vision
What
for
their vision
Trinidad?
is.
So-
You know, what do they think about how to market the city?
That would be
So
your opportunity to ask
If
them.
we create a
know.
protocol where one person from each board becomes a spokesperson of what that board is working on and what are their 3 main priorities, right? If they know.
So one spokesperson
Yeah.
from each board,
Uh-huh.
bring with them 3 main priorities.
Yeah, that they're
Or
working on.
goals.
Well,
And keep
current
in mind
and
that there may be
future is
some
what I'm
boards that
hearing
you
you're
don't
saying,
need,
what
like
are the
planning and
current
zoning.
and what the future
Right.
is.
So there's some of these boards that don't have to be at the
Right,
table, but
right.
like the ones that have to be at the table.
Just,
Yeah.
just the ones that are pretty much,
That are related
Trying
to
to-
tourism. I mean, we don't need public works necessarily.
No,
That's
but,
not a board.
but like
That's a
the
department.
mayor said about the historical society, and I think that's really important.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
because aren't they applying for grants for doing things in the downtown area?
Main Street Board,
Main
Main
Street
Street
Board.
Board.
Creative industry.
Creative Industries.
Yeah.
Main Street.
You know, so,
That's from last year.
You have about 4 or 5 boards that I think
Yeah.
that will probably be at the table.
So if you have everybody then give like the 3 things maybe they're working on and then their 3 like aspirational goals, right? And then see if there's overlap between any of those.
And not to
I think that-
criticize anybody, because we're not here to criticize what they're doing
We're
or
just
not.
looking
And
for
we're not gonna
ideas.
say we have a better idea.
Ask them for their, like you said, what are their short-term goals
Mhm.
Yeah.
and long-term goals, and it not extensive, but like I said, their main 3
Mhm.
short-term, their long-term goals.
Mhm.
That way it kind of gives everybody an idea of what they want to do tomorrow, what they wanna do within 5 years or whatever.
And then if there's overlap between them somehow, I mean, you said you're a certified facilitator, so is there overlap between those boards of what they're doing? Because I imagine that Main Street and, do you say
Creative
creative industries and even the historic board, my guess is there's gonna be some overlap between those. And recreation and tourism, for sure there's going to be some overlap, right? Or parks and rec, I mean, there's gonna be overlap in
There's
some
our,
of these.
there's overlap between the creative industries and the arts.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
So this kind of, and
Yeah.
that's something that has been brought up before, is the overlap problem that exists.
And then if we can figure out where the overlap is and put everybody who and then, you know, figure out like in that creative world with those different, what are the 3 things that really maybe as a town we should focus on? And then in the recreation world is the 3 things or the 4 things that we should really focus at least our imagery on. Maybe not all of the different grants and things, but the imagery and what it looks like. And then that might get us to a point where we have something working to take to a marketing firm or to take to Kathy Ritter. Would that process work, or do we need more? I don't know. Trying to get to the logistics of this.
I think that's a plan.
I
Okay.
think that's the plan.
All right,
Okay.
so what are your takeaways from this group meeting? What is the
goal.
How?
goal?
How we move forward is marketing the city of
And what their
Trinidad.
ideas are, what their vision is for us, because we are the tourism board, what would they like to see?
And I think that's a good thing coming from this board, is to see what everybody else wants, so we're all on the same page.
How do we prioritize our marketing dollars, and how do we promote the image of Trinidad to benefit the various stakeholders?
And, yeah, I mean, like, I don't really know what the creative district is doing, although I'm sure they're doing something. I'm sure they are. Oh, yeah, right? But I don't know, but I'm sure they're doing something. They're a bunch of great people every time I hear a name from the creative board, so that's great.
Well, one thing
Okay.
that we are doing, the city's doing, is Mike is, I'm not sure where he's at with it, but put out for a director for the creative industries.
Uh-huh.
Right. And was that the same, did I read that with the Main Street group too? They were gonna be kind
No,
of.
that's the Main Street group, not the creative, excuse me. the
Yeah,
Street
Main
group.
Street group, yeah. Yeah, that's really important for our town, Mayor, thank you so much for that, it really is. I don't know where they can go from there, but for us to get that other credential and to put on grants, they need to take that next step, so thank you for that.
Okay, so I'll send out an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you have a particular date you want to do this?
I think a work session of ours, we could just leave it for that.
Do we need to do it in the evening though, because a lot
Yeah,
of the
that's
people on
true.
those different boards have jobs and
You
like
can
might
do
not
it
be able
in
to
the evening.
come.
Or late afternoon, like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Maybe you could get a feel for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
5?
A date, at least?
I don't know.
Your next meeting is a regular meeting on the 27th. So you do have that one coming up.
That's a pretty full meeting.
Yes, you actually, it won't
We
be
could.
that. I'm just saying that is your next meeting, so.
Could we, since it's a work session, could we do it on the 11th? Is that our work session, but do it in the evening?
That's a regular. So do we?
This month,
we
your
flipped
work
it.
session and your regular meeting got flip-flopped.
Oh.
Right.
Tom requested that be
Yes.
changed.
You know, I look at this as such an important work session, and I think maybe we might have to have an extra work session.
extra
Yeah, an
special
extra one.
session.
I don't think we need to
Yeah.
combine it with ours
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
I think that would be best.
I agree too.
So you want to do it maybe the first week in May?
That sounds good.
That sounds good.
Or we could, that day, if it suited everybody, we could have our work session maybe like at 3 or 4 in the afternoon instead of early in the morning, and have the combined with everybody else at 5 or 6 o'clock, so that we
That
can,
actually might be better because.
you know, so that we all
The
only
common
come to
ones
the
are
city
time.
once.
Yeah.
sort
So
of.
your work session, your next work session is the 25th of May.
Right. See, so
Oh,
That's a
Because
oh,
they-
I'm
because
at
they- 'cause
they were
27th, the
flipped.
regular meeting, and then
like
we do a work
like
session.
the mayor said, we do an additional work session just
Yeah.
for that. I think that's what we should do.
So on and off week, I would suggest.
On and off week,
Right.
yeah.
So the 4th.
So it would be not the first week; it'll be the second week. Is that right? Or is the
First week.
Your
she
regular
said.
meetings and your work sessions are the second and fourth.
so it'd be the first
Wednesday.
week then? Okay.
So it would be the 4th?
Be the
You wanna try
4th.
for the 4th of May?
Right.
What, and so, do I
You
feel
fill it
around
out
and
and
see what
see
time
what's-
everybody
Yeah.
wants to meet?
Does that interfere with any of the other city meetings or city council or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
not on a Wednesday.
Thank you, Marty, I know we're
Okay.
giving you a lot of information.
It's okay,
All right.
got it.
Okay, next, review of spring 2022 grant applications.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, so we need 5 minutes on every one of them. Let's roll, guys. I gotta go to
Oh,
work.
that's not a bad
I
idea,
know,
is to give
yeah.
us a time period.
Stick to
on
a
each
certain
one.
time. Let's not overkill these.
Okay, so
Caveman first.
Caveman's one.
He's asking for a lot of money.
Yeah.
you know, I just really appreciate what a hard job they're doing out there. However, for me, you know, I've talked to them and I'm gonna help them a little bit, but for me, in the town of Trinidad, we're already sold out on Labor Day weekend. So that's a tough weekend that has been selected.
And this is considered a new event, right?
This is considered a new event, and you have $10,000 for a new event. Well, yes.
Well,
$10,000 in our budget for new
New
events.
events.
Right,
Yeah.
so-
Individual new events or total?
total.
So what we did
Um,
last year or
You
the
know
year
what, let me
before,
check on that.
we
It might be 20,000.
No, it's 10.
we split it.
Because we split it last year.
We split it two, we
It's
did
10.
two $5,000
Yeah,
grants.
we did two $5,000 ones. And that's probably.
But you check
I
and
think
see.
it's 20.
I
I
don't think
believe
it's
maybe some of these are existing and a lot of these are in town, which isn't that more, I mean, I guess Monument Lake is part of our town, but these are more like in town and will benefit our tax base.
This one too.
This is a city-owned property. So,
Right.
It is
so
the same apartment.
But it is 35 miles away.
Our mission statement is to make sure that we drive economic development to downtown.
And it is Labor Day weekend, and
It is Labor Day
it is
weekend.
Labor Day weekend.
I just
and
wish you do, you know, a weekend after or something. just
I think
because
it's
of-
gonna be a hard sell because of the space to sleep up there, to camp up there. I think
He
that's gonna be a
told
hard
us though
sell.
that he has neighboring farms and things that are letting people camp.
Camp,
Our
but that
mission
is
to drive
camping.
business to
That is
downtown.
camping, that is hard.
That's the tough part.
That's the tough part.
And I actually have thought that maybe even going to the county and saying now it's time to run the tourism tax in the county, because I would really like to have places like Stonewall, but that's not our mission statement, nor do we get one penny
And-
off of any Airbnb that sits up there, and there's a lot of them.
And one of the biggest reasons La Vida failed is because of the room and board. They didn't
Yeah.
have anybody.
Yeah, that's why
They
they
had
couldn't have
camping
draw.
spaces galore. but-
Monument Lake is closer to Levita than it is Trinidad anyway, isn't it?
Right, and they didn't, but they failed because they didn't have places for people to stay. People weren't gonna go up there and stay, and that was a hard sell, which they struggled with for 2 years. That was a hard sell.
It was,
Uh-huh, it was. That was their downfall, they
and
said
they're
it.
such nice people that
Mhm.
tried so hard.
So then looking at these, like this Mardi Gras is a new event, but that's also for profit, which is
Right.
against what we do, right?
Right.
Well, but it's actually not. It is, but it's not. I mean, and I don't know, I don't
I
actually
think
know
we need
anybody to do
I
with
think we
Mardi
need
Gras.
to fix this
But-
one right now and
Yeah,
go
okay,
on. We
okay.
we cannot jump like that. We gotta fix this one.
Well, but I think if we know how many new events we have
That's a
on
good
here,
point. How
then
many-
we'll know what
There's
we'll know what our breakdown is in terms of
Yeah.
how much money we have versus
That's-
how many existing events.
That's a
I
great
think
point.
there's 7 or 8 of them,
Wow.
new events.
Pony Express is not new to our community, but it's new to us, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
is that considered a new event?
Yes.
Okay. Car show is not new, correct?
Yes, that's new.
Oh, okay, so this is
So
not,
the way they're doing it now is
Cartopia.
new.
okay. Triggers, not new.
Nothing.
Trinidadio,
Not
not
new.
new. Trinidad Art Fest,
They're
That's
new.
new.
They're new.
and what's this last one? What? The Purgatory 4?
That's new.
Yeah, I don't know what he
Oh,
wants.
that's Jarrett's, it's a race.
That's
Run, paddle, bike.
That's Jared the Chowder,
I
yeah.
love that
Okay.
he's doing that.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
It
Look how
is.
much you have in festival funding.
What?
So we have
I
two
forgot
existing.
that I put extra money in there for us.
Wow, Marty.
Okay, so we have 4 existing.
We did it because we were coming out of COVID.
And we didn't get rid of all that. And then
That's why we
the
did
No,
it.
we
one,
did
the
it
last one,
because
number 11
we had-
is Jared Charlie, is that's a new one too?
Yeah, there's
And
2.
that, what is that one?
That is for, well,
Social media?
yes, so it's a co-op with the Colorado Tourism Office. It was a grant.
See, that's why we need to get together with this guy, because that is on our base. He's asking for a grant on that, and that is something,
Local festival funding.
CTO Social Marketing Co-op. So they had a media buy that was really
Is
good.
all of them for 2022?
should that be in our advertising rather than a grant?
You get more, this is just the first
No.
round,
Well,
so,
Shouldn't that be
Good.
As we
advertising?
go through.
it could
so
be.
we have to.
We could take that out of our
Because that is
advertising.
advertising, that's not a grant to
We
do
could take that
anything.
out of our advertising.
We could take the last one, number 11, and move it to advertising, because that is an advertising thing.
Which one's that?
Jared Charlie, number 11, it's a social media thing, the grant for social media for the
Marketing
Colorado
Co-op
Tourism.
with the Colorado
Colorado
Tourism
Tourism,
Office.
that's,
So, Just
that's
as we're
advertising.
talking about this, and I know that a year or two ago, before COVID, so I guess it'd be 3 years ago, I researched how many events went on in places like Breckenridge and Crested Butte and Buena Vista. And literally, like, it was shocking.
Almost every single weekend.
Yeah, it was like 1,000 events. I go, how can you do that in a year? Because sometimes they have 2, 3, 4 events at the same time. They have a bike race event at the same time. There's an art event at the same time as. But Mayor, on the table, and I haven't researched any of it, nor do I know it. I just heard about the 4 festivals a year going on. What is that about?
But it is that, the 4 festivals that would close downtown, but then there's others besides that. And that was a discussion that we had last night, so we will finalize that next Tuesday as to, and at that time, that's what I was gonna bring up, you'll have to look at that to see how that all
So
gels together.
let me clarify a little bit
Yeah.
on festivals. So when we refer to festivals, we're talking about like the Santa Fe Trail Festival or the RAD Festival or the Trinidad Blues Festival or whatever. This is something entirely different from all of those. This is an alcohol-related festival.
Okay.
It's written as a festival in the state liquor.
So what would be an example of that?
Okay, so what they're doing, you have right now what we have is we have 3 different ways, 3 different special events, so to speak. So a special event permit that requires, that is, serving alcohol, could be anything from a wedding at the A.R. Mitchell Museum where they don't have a liquor license, but they're going to serve liquor, okay? That's a special event. They have to come, they have to apply for a special event liquor license.
Okay.
Then you have an entertainment district. Entertainment district is this defined area of the historic downtown area that extends all the way down to Club 14, all the way over to Grandma's house on this side, Flojo's, and then it used to be Bricks on this end of East Main and Moose's on West Main. So there's a defined area that's called the entertainment district. Anybody that has a liquor license that serves liquor within those boundaries can become an
Part of the
entertainment
entertainment district.
an entertainment district.
It's for open containers
Person,
in that
right.
district, right?
As in an entertainment district, an event coordinator says, I'd like to have an event on Main Street going as far as Animas. So that part of the entertainment district, anybody that sells alcohol, that's an establishment in that area, those individuals, that establishment can serve alcohol. They have to check their ID, they have a band, and then they have to serve alcohol in specially marked, identified cups. And then anybody in that event can go into that establishment, buy their alcohol, and walk around in the streets. That's an entertainment district. The third thing that the state just opened up was these alcohol liquor festivals, is what they're calling it. For a festival, you have to say, these have to be designated areas where these establishments can set up a booth.
Like when they've used the commercial street, city property where the parking lot is?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they identify a defined area and say, we're going to have a festival, say it's Moose's, but they want to have it on Main and Commercial.
So it's a
Okay,
designated area.
So it's a designated area. Now, Moose's can now invite Los Angeles Grill
Local.
or Flojo's or any of the
To have a
other
booth.
already licensed liquor establishments to have a booth at this festival. What city staff anticipated was that there was going to be too many of these alcohol festivals that would shut down the main arteries of downtown. And it would affect the businesses in those areas. Some businesses are happy when we have an event in front of their stores. Others are not. It depends. People can't get to the realtor that's in that area when we got a festival going on. He doesn't benefit from that festival at all. Maybe a retail establishment might, like maybe Curly's Beats. She has more people going in her store because the streets are blocked and everybody's going into her little store. But anybody that's not going to benefit from that event, it impacts them because we shut down the streets. So what the staff decided was we should limit those amounts of festivals because we already have entertainment district events. We also have other events that are going on that are going to shut down the streets, and we don't want to create a problem for more of our businesses. Where we're shutting down the main arteries of the Trinidad.
So the
For
proposal
too
is
many
to have
weekends.
4 to close down.
The ordinance that we are proposing is to limit it to 4 closures on the main arteries. If they want to have it on private property, it's unlimited. They can do that whenever they want to. There's no constriction there.
They do it
If
in,
they want to
like,
do it in a
Jason
park,
Park or something like that.
if they want to do it in a park, it would have to be, right now they have to apply for, anybody that wants to use the park has to fill out an event park permit application. And so that process is already streamlined. So if I have an event going in Central Park, it's pretty much a first come, first served basis. So if somebody says, I want to have a beer festival in Central Park and I already have the Relay for Life, it's not going to happen. You can't, so they would have to identify a different area. But the concern is shutting down the streets every weekend in the summer. It's probably not a good idea.
And right now, the way it is, we're allowing for the 4 festivals, plus you still have the entertainment district. So there could be several weekends that still could shut down.
And we can still
But,
shut
so,
down.
but
We
do
wanna
like
limit-
Comedy Fest and Blues Fest count as which festivals do they count as entertainment district?
Yeah.
Well, right now,
Well,
the
any
entertainment,
event coordinator that wants to utilize the entertainment district has to says, I want this to be an entertainment
That's
district.
not part of the 4.
No, the 4 are only alcohol.
Related.
So like we do
Well, I'm
festivals
still
all the
confused
time
though,
because I am a
because
distillery,
entertainment
right?
district is
Right.
alcohol
And
too.
like we do one in Central City, and I don't think many cars go up that road anyway because it's this big and this steep. But they shut down a couple blocks of the street,
Right.
and then we do our festivals. And it's not the local liquor stores; it's producers
Right,
or
and
beer
they do.
festivals,
Right,
things like
yeah.
that.
Right.
Is that what we're saying? You're going to
Yes.
limit those kinds of things.
Right.
So I think
to
one of the
4.
things that you gotta be careful with these people that are applying for money, when do they plan to have their events? Is it gonna be a festival? Is it gonna be a park
Right.
entertainment district? So that
Right.
if they plan it on a day that is already designated, like.
No. So they have to, if they're having an event, they have to fill out an application.
Just the date that they're gonna have it, so that
Yes.
it doesn't
What?
start interrupting with other things.
No, I have a whole calendar, Mayor, and everything is on that calendar, and everything is sent to every department head. Everybody has a calendar that says, this is the date of the caveman, this is the date for
Also,
the.
the other thing is.
So none of them clash in, none of them clash.
none of them clash, because she
So-
makes sure they don't clash when she
so-
writes it out.
So I want to get back to this.
Yes,
So-
yeah,
So,
come on.
so we have a total of $85,000, right?
Yes,
So we have 3 rounds, right?
yes.
So we have to break it down the 3 rounds.
28,000.
Well,
28,000.
Is what we need to do. We need
you could, but keep in mind that some of these events are not taking place until the end of the year, so
yeah. So-
Are you gonna have big events that are going to apply later? Probably
Well,
not.
what we have to do is take care of what we have in hand, but we also have to leave money for what's coming down the road.
Exactly.
You
But-
know, so
But
it's
also
better
know
for,
that these are your major events that have already applied
For the year.
for the year.
We-
Yeah, because if you look at the dates on some of these, they go into the year.
Mhm.
They're not all in June.
They're not all in June.
so that's
You know,
another
the
thing that
Blues
we have
Fest
to
is
take
August, so
into
they go
hand
down.
is,
Right.
do we take money out of that one, or do we take it out of this up front? So do we break, you know, so is this money coming out of that grant cycle of that time?
You don't have designated amounts for each grant cycle.
We did last year. We broke it down into three.
Well, we could
times.
do that now, real easy, and break it down for 3
Well,
events.
it comes to 23,000 for.
2333.
Right.
But these are your major events.
So we
You
may
have-
want to give more now and leave less later.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
what Marty's
Because
saying.
we won't have, that third
Because
event,
you
we
won't
don't
have
have a
these
lot.
major events
Yeah.
later on.
Like in the third round, we never did.
That we know of. Something new may come up,
Well,
You're
You know.
absolutely right.
you
But-
know.
yeah, we're right. Okay, let's get going. I just really need to get to work.
So it's not allocated separately between local, new and existing festivals on here. It says
The-
local festival fund.
And then also,
Right, it's
just
not.
as an update, aside, little conversation here, is after we get our tourism tax money in July for the quarter of April, May, and June, if there's extra expenditure money, which looks like there may be, then we would be able to add that to our budget for fall. But I didn't do this before, and I should have.
I
done this,
don't have
which is
them listed,
dates
they're
and
all in
amounts.
individual packets. So every application has their amounts written on there.
So existing versus new doesn't matter. So what are the dates on this one? Labor Day, September. Or is Caveman? 110. That's a lot of money. What's this one? Venture Relay.
Marty, do you ever let any of them know what the amount of money that we have to give out, a total
It's
for the
public
year?
information, but no, they don't
Yeah.
ask, I don't say.
Yeah, so like this one asking for 110,000, they probably have no idea of the amount of money that we do have to give.
Oh, so this one, number 11, we figured that's advertising, that's kind of separate.
I know this is really hard, guys, and I should have done mine ahead of time, but it's kind of like, as information I would like to know is, for example, any, I don't want to name anyone specifically, is this people would say overnight, 1 night, 2 nights? You
Well,
know,
that's
because
when we go to
that means
individual.
something too, because we get our money from heads and beds, you know. And that's not as a hotel owner, that is as trying to be fair to everybody, why we would maybe select somebody over another, because that's in our directive.
Well, and I still don't know really what our goals are. Arts, outdoor recreation, and,
Our goals are to try and help as many as possible.
Yeah, but-
Regardless of
but I mean-
outdoors or,
but what's our main focus for tourism to get heads and beds?
well, that's what we should look at them right now.
Car and bike show. Is that $1,000 or
Yes.
100%?
Yes. You and I are the same ones, I heard you say car show.
Pony Express. Is Pony Express for-profit, non-profit?
For profit.
And did you find that little canop up, if it had to be a 501c3 or not?
Who?
The grant that we give? Remember, we kinda had a short exchange of, the way the grant was written now versus in the past, you had to be a 501c3 to
You
get.
do not.
Yeah, see, so there's the answer, because I thought that, but they didn't know that, so you actually do not have to be a 501c3.
What is, okay, never mind.
Nothing about it, you have to be careful, I mean, not be careful, but is it strictly nonprofit, because there's other designated members besides the 501c3, so is it just strictly nonprofits?
Right, so I'm designated between a nonprofit and a for-profit, not
Yeah.
by the individual or nonprofit status.
Somehow that got changed around over the years, but that is not, you're right.
Okay. I got it.
The way it was originally written, when it was passed by, as a public vote, there was no designation.
Correct.
I don't have the big ones here. Chief?
And then, Mayor, by any chance, any of these events, and some of our large signature events for the city of Trinidad, has city council helped with any of them that we should be aware of?
Not that I know of, not that anything yet.
Trinidad Blues Fest. The city has given Trinidad.
But not this year, I'm looking at this year.
Oh, this
for
year?
sure.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Not anything.
Wait, if the bottom one is the one that they're asking for us, right? Or is that approximately? Total amount, oh, request, I'm looking at the wrong number.
Amount to request.
And so, and again, this is just the time of year that things happen, but as a stat, I don't know how we could spell that out for everybody in the city of Trinidad, is every hotel is at 110% occupancy in July. In July, you have celebrations of life, which is a new way people used to do funerals. You have class reunions, you have marriages. We are all booked out, so it's always painful when I see so many done in July versus June or August, because we just help all the surrounding communities, which is nice of us.
The only one I see in July is the Arts Festival.
The Art Fest, the car show.
Car shows
Cars
in
in
June.
June, six
Oh,
Car
of
shows-
I wrote down 7/24.
It's
No, it's
6/11.
June.
6/11, okay, well, that's great. Not that in the future it isn't great to have a couple festivals the same weekend, it's just that,
I don't see. Where's the, oh, here, 2,000. This is ongoing all summer.
The farmer's market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with Triggers, right?
Yes.
Triggers is also most of the summer, so
Yeah.
June, May through August or July. Si, do you happen to have that scoring rubric that we put together when Nancy was here?
No, I probably do somewhere, but I didn't bring it today.
My computer
Darn it.
crashed. I lost a lot of
I
files.
might have, Tom, do you have one?
It's probably.
In
let me see
the
if it's
email
in here.
somewhere?
I think you would,
So July 31st, 8/26, 27, 29. What are they approximately requesting? $2,400 a month.
Is that Blues Fest?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So they're typically, their total grant is broken down by monthly installments.
And we did the same thing with Art OK too. At one year, how long did we do the Mitchell Museum? We gave them so much money every month.
We did actually 18 months total.
Yeah, so that's not an unusual way of to fund certain things.
So we have typically granted a year's amount, and then if they follow the protocols by reporting their P&L and, how they've been doing business, then that grant is extended for additional 6 months.
Did I get the right number? I keep looking at the wrong number that the total ask is.
Marty, is the Southwest Chief, are they closing any of the streets, or are they
No.
having them in?
They're all
venues?
indoors.
They're all indoors.
This year, they had a,
And so, on his, he just sold tickets to, is there multiple places in Trinidad that they're having them?
Yes, so
or
they're
just-
doing Main Street Live, the Trinidad Lounge, I think he's also doing, Mitchell,
The Mitchell?
I think so. Might be Grandma's house as well.
do we know what they're getting from Raton?
I don't know that he applied for anything from Raton.
So Marty, he's selling a certain amount of tickets to each one of those events, so there's so many tickets that are for like the Main Street, so many tickets
Yes,
for the Mitchell.
yes.
And how many days is it, Marty? Is it
Just-
fifth, sixth, and seventh? I see, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So all of these excluding the caveman, I came up with 56,300 being asked.
Yeah.
Did you guys get the same
With,
thing?
oh yeah, besides the cave.
Besides the caveman.
You're right, he is asking for funding from Raton.
He is asking for funding from Raton.
And the Blues Fest, you're doing that for what?
I did that for
3
the whole, I did that for the whole year. I just did the whole year one. I mean, we could delineate that out, but I did it for the whole year.
Okay.
So looking at these, the adventure relay is a 2-day event, so that would be heads and beds. It's a really different kind of an event though, so I don't know what kind of draw that has. So, but I think that's kind of a cool thing for sure. But that is a 2-day event, right? The caveman also, but it's far, would be heads and beds
Yeah.
because it's multiple days. Pony Express bike,
The point that I was making, although I really love what they're doing out there and everything
It's the
else, is
weekend.
that the whole town is already sold out on
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend. So the heads and beds would be probably up in the Stonewall area, and those, it wouldn't be locally.
okay.
Although I really encourage the festival, and I think that they've done a fabulous job out there, it's just a little uncomfortable because it's Labor Day weekend.
Okay. I think the chief also is multiple days. Clearly there's heads and beds because people come down for that one, right? So that's,
Well, now there's also, bed and breakfast.
And right, and bed and breakfast, right?
So they
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
we do get lodging taxes from bed
Yeah.
and breakfast now.
And it's a lot of error, you're right, Marty. You know, the Triggers as a hotel, one part that they really bring a lot of people to town that people don't really realize it is 20 guys come to town from Alamogordo and their girlfriends and their grandparents want to see these young guys play. And so of nights of Triggers games, just my hotel has somewhere between 5 or 6 rooms. So they probably, because of the families that are coming in to see the boys play, the girlfriends that are going on little trips, besides that, you know,
Okay.
the brothers and sisters and their families come to see brother who's 21 playing in this league and they're 28 with their family. So we
And that-
just see so many.
that also probably brings people regionally who aren't spending the night but are spending dollars in,
Yeah, well,
in
they
town, right?
usually, I don't know how she sets those games up, I'm not fluent enough to understand that, but I am always surprised at the amount of people that are coming in for the Triggers, asking about information about Trinidad, because they normally from Alamogordo or places like, there's a whole bunch more now, wouldn't come to Trinidad.
A
They're
lot
not
of
from
Kansas people
Arkansas.
come for the games.
Yeah,
And you'll see them downtown shopping.
so,
Just
The
to let you know,
mothers.
last night through our housing season assessment report that was given to us last night, there are, I think, 59 short-term rentals.
oh, thanks for that.
That's what
yeah.
there is?
Yeah. And how does the city feel about that? What is the,
Actually, it was reported to that was under the per capita,
yeah,
it's less than what,
great.
it could be, there could be more.
That's great, that's great, Mayor. And the reason for that is because we need people in our downtown area to shop at our shops and eat in our restaurants. And the more, as closer they get to town, those Airbnbs, those are the people that have expendable income that is helping those places.
And there's other things besides that that council will probably be discussing with the short-term rentals. There's other things that we have to consider for sure.
Yeah, like people having a place to live.
So how do we do this? So, I mean, the 4 events that do definitely will have, or 5, will have people staying here would be Blues Fest, Triggers, Chief, Pony Express, Adventure Relay, maybe Caveman,
That's true.
right? And then some of these are also community festivals that are really important, I think, just for
Right.
community building that aren't necessarily about tourism, like Farmers Market and Arts Festival. Those are really about community
They
building.
really are, but where the farmer's market is concerned, we were supplied, meaning the hotels, were supplied with sandwich boards, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, before COVID, that we put outside our hotel on Saturday mornings, that say farmer's market downtown Trinidad. So, and on those Saturday mornings, some people that normally go to the farmer's market might say, oh, how do all these people from out of town, it's this great? It's because we're letting them know, so they come downtown and they might go to some other store and go to the farmer's market.
But I think we should be funding community events because that's also
Oh,
part of what
absolutely.
we're doing.
Yeah,
right?
and pride.
Absolutely.
Yeah, city pride.
I'm not gonna make a comment on
Right,
farmers
you
market.
can't, but no,
Well,
I mean, just
so-
as,
Even people staying in the VBROs go to the farmer's market
Mhm.
for,
Right, it's-
they're,
I go
they
to farmers
have.
markets when I'm in other towns.
Yeah.
and you always feel like the community's cooler
Yeah.
when you get up in the morning and there's farmer's market to go through.
Yeah, for sure. I love
It's
that.
an entertainment. It's not just that you're going to buy your vegetables, if you're from out of town.
So I think if we can prioritize, maybe the Adventure Relay, the Arts Festival, the Pony Express, the Chief, Farmers Market, Triggers, and Blues Fest, and then figure out the rest, because the others are kind of a private hotel. I don't know, the car and bike show. And then, although neither of those are asking for a whole lot.
Yeah, and I don't know about this car and bike show. I know Trinidad's always had their car and bike teams that show up for all the festivals. When we have a festival in town, we always have a car and bike thing because there's so many people that
Motorcycle
have
bike?
collector.
Yes.
Cars. Yeah,
Okay.
motorcycles and, for some reason, there's people that always have collector cars in Trinidad.
Yeah, I see that too. I mean, that's sort of a community building event too, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I don't know, there's always at all the events, how many cars, Marty? Maybe 15, 20 local cars? Work
Oh,
car
this
cars.
one this one will have a lot of cars.
Yeah,
I bet
yeah.
you they'll have upwards of 100.
Yeah, oh, wow, but I mean, like normally, no matter if we have Santa Fe Trail Festival or everything, there's
Cinco
always.
de Mayo, I think, is
Yeah.
going to have a little car show.
There's just people that love-
Santa Fe Trail Days sometimes has an associated car show.
So
But-
if we take out the Blues Fest for the whole time and just do it as a quarterly, and then we can, and this is where we're probably getting the majority because a lot of these are later in the year, or.
Well, there'll still be others, like the Santa Fe Trail Days did not submit an application.
Cartopia didn't.
Cartopia did not.
Is Cartopia still receiving funds from us, or,
No, I think they're.
or are they done?
Through a grant.
Through a grant, yeah, we give them how much money a month?
On marketing, I don't have that in front
So
of me, so
there is
I'm
a
not
certain
sure.
standard amount. that we give.
A.R. Mitchell Museum did not submit a grant. The Rad Fest did not submit a grant, so there
So
will be
they'll
others
have other
forthcoming.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So if we satisfy all of these, we'll end up with a balance of about 29,000 for the other 2 rounds.
Minus Cape.
3 rounds. We have 3 more rounds.
The other thing that you could really increase it is take some of these amounts that they're requesting and cut it back, maybe
Right.
200
Right.
bucks.
Yeah, they
Just-
will.
That'd be on that,
You know,
there's no doubt about that.
as an insider note, who's building a hotel and has a hotel, because we're building a hotel, there's about $250,000 more in, revenue that has been gained of bringing guys in to work on the new hotel,
Yeah.
that are renting hotel rooms to work on the new hotel, that's not normally in our performer when you figure out stuff. And then there's our 3%. So there will be some higher revenues attained this year because we're building a hotel and putting more people in beds through the winter locally in town because of the amount of people that need to come to town to help build the hotel. Electricians, sheetrockers, framers, you know, it goes on and on.
How much
I
more
have-
do we anticipate for the budget coming in our next thing?
You know, I don't know, but I'm sure that we'll end up the year with at least $25,000 extra with the 3% money.
So
Can I ask Marty something? Did we have a budget for new things for $10,000, so
Yes.
separate than this
So-
right here? It
No,
was
it's all
mixed in with that.
inclusive in that
It was all
85,000.
inclusive.
It was just broken out
I
so
thought
that
it
you
was
had.
separate, but okay, all
No,
right,
it's part of the,
okay.
So
So
Already
we
ready
do-
5,000.
There's something that you're talking about, Si, that is going to exacerbate the hotel industry, is the railroad is going to be going into place here, starting here shortly. They've estimated 100 employees. Some may be local, but some may be brought in. Now, those that are going to be brought in will be here for 18 to 24 months.
Yeah,
Where are
that's
they
right.
going to stay? Is that going to, so that's
Right.
going to, our hotel situation is
Yeah.
max.
And when is that supposed to start, Mayor?
We need more. Was that?
When is that supposed to start, Mayor?
I haven't heard exactly, but I'm sure it's gonna be starting by June or July.
Oh, that quickly?
Oh,
Yeah, they
Oh, I thought it was
anticipate
like
summer.
September.
Oh, yeah, this
I was
summer.
hoping September.
No.
Okay, so that means that we're going to have more revenue than this 85,000 for 2022.
Well,
right?
could be.
see, the problem that happens with that, and the reason why they end up by going on outskirts, is they come to hotels and they ask for a $60 rate,
Mhm.
which is expensive to put one person up in 30 days, right? That's $1,800 a month to put one person up. But the hotels can't afford to give them $60 rates because we have the I-25 vein coming through. So they end up trying to find places to live, and in some places, they'll either put 3 or 4 guys that are single in a house
Mhm.
or in a room. We had a circumstance with the railroad last year where they actually, when they were working on the road, they actually had one guy in for 12 hours. He went out and worked 2 guys.
And
Those-
those changed
And
beds.
then the guys that worked during the night came in,
Oh.
and they got to sleep in the same beds, and we had to clean the bedrooms in between.
Pilots do
So,
that.
I mean, yeah, we do it the pilots too, because the FedEx and UPS, so we do that contract.
Hotel industry right now is a pickle because of overcapacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can anticipate having more money coming into this fund before the end of the year. No, this is
Right.
the set.
This
budget.
is our budget.
This is
Okay.
our budget.
This
The
is our
only way-
budget.
The only way, if we see an event that comes up that we feel it's worth, we can take it from another block of money that we had from advertising or.
I wouldn't suggest
Well,
that.
I'm just saying,
Going-
we have
The
before.
bucket that you usually take money out of is your outside contract services,
Right,
and
and-
then that's gonna be the bucket that you
Want to do that?
wanna do this. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I mean,
Well, and,
what you got right now.
and what I'm saying is, in the past, we've done, we
What about
have
money?
taken it out.
What about money in reserves?
We can take it from there also, we can do it one time a year.
Okay,
But we have that new van coming.
that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
Alright.
you know, we have to figure that, you know, what's that gonna take?
Good.
Are we gonna pay it all? Are we gonna,
So I would
do a
use your
portion of
budget
it.
at face value right now. I
Right.
wouldn't
Yeah.
I would
anticipate
use it as face value.
borrowing from Peter to pay
and
Paul.
the thing of it is you come up with 56,000 for the total of it all. We won't give everybody the total amount, which will increase the balance of the 29,000 that we'll have left. So, you know, if we feel that, you know, heads and beds is what we look at.
All right.
at
All right.
first.
So let's go through these. Adventure Relay, September 9th and 10th. And he's wanting $2,500 for a new event. Right? Does he have his own budget too? This is Jared's, right?
What number is that?
I don't know.
The Outdoor Outdoor Recreation does not have a budget.
It does not have a budget.
No.
Okay.
And so in cases like that,
They're actually included in the Parks and
Right, so
Recreation
since-
budget.
So it's,
Okay.
so in
So that's
cases-
number 10.
In cases like that, just to bring you up to date, we would maybe ask for, that we would take for any advertising and promotion, which is I think what he's looking for, is for ad money.
Mhm.
And then that just goes through, the city with us when he submits the billing. So if it costs $2,200, we only pay $2,200, we don't give him $2,500.
Okay.
Is that correct?
So if you'll look at the budget sheet, Don, you'll see the third or second line item is advertising and publications. So what she's trying to say is, if we approve this, that amount will be taken out of that line item. rather than out of your grant line item.
Rather than out of the grant money, it would come out of the advertising.
And it might not be the whole 2,500, it might be 2,410.
Okay.
That's on that sheet.
All right, so should we go through number one, caveman? Should we table that until we get to the others?
I think since it's the largest, that's a wise idea. What do you think?
I think we just should go for it.
All 110?
No,
Oh.
oh God, no. No, but I think we need to make an approach proposal what we do and be done with it. We could take it, if that's what you guys want to do. Let's just,
Okay, now keep in mind that if you are undecided on any of these, it might be the deciding factor when that individual comes to do his presentation. If you have additional questions, you can ask him, and then you can make your decisions.
Yeah.
But
I don't mean
you should-
table for the next, I just mean until we
Yeah,
get through the others.
yeah, not yet, right, because it is the largest one.
No, well, the one on the caveman makes me think that maybe we should let someone like that know how much money we are giving, so,
That we only have $85,000.
and they're coming and asking us for 110,000, but,
now we have 11 things that are coming up.
well, not only that, but he evidently thinks that we're flush with money, that we can give them 110,000, but we have a lot of people that we have to give money to, and
Well, then at
it's
some
gonna be
point-
insulting if we give him whatever, because of what he's asking, it's,
I
You
would
know, it
suggest
is.
going forward, when you have your grant cycles, that you designate a certain amount of money for that grant cycle.
Mhm.
And that you let people know that this grant has $30,000 for this grant cycle, and those applicants are eligible for that. Now, if they're not, they can also reapply in the next grant cycle if we say we run out of money. Just a suggestion.
I think that's a good idea to say.
We have
got a-
we have basically done that. We have designated how much money we were gonna give for the first round in that.
But not in your applications.
Right, right. So it's just so they know what we are giving, for that.
And the other little thing that you could put a line in there saying that keep in mind that we get multiple
Mhm. Right.
applicants.
So let's put this aside for just a second and look at the others and see how many of these we can fund. And then if there's anything left over for the
I
caveman.
like where you're going.
I mean,
I see where you're going, I like it.
Okay,
so, the next one's chief.
okay, we did $2,500 last year. So,
And it was set up to be bigger last year, right? Because he did close off the entertainment district.
No, I didn't make it bigger. That just meant it was a different format.
it was a different
It was a
format.
COVID format, right?
Right.
For safety.
Right, because it had to be outdoors. You couldn't do anything
I
indoors.
believe the $2,500 last year, or it was intended to only be reimbursing for advertising and promotional dollars too.
Right.
And I think he didn't make as much ticket revenue because it was outdoors and there was no enforcement of ticketing.
Well, COVID was,
Yeah, because of COVID.
yeah.
But I also do believe, I don't know if he has printed up his books yet, but all his posters are printed up with no logos on it at all. And I do believe he should have been here in November of last year if he's gonna print all this stuff up. Because he can't print all these stuff up with not our logo, or that's last year's book.
He does the same thing every year, though. This is his third year, and he does the same thing.
And he
on the
does the same
page.
book.
And he says, basically, the format's the same, and he always says.
Because on his posters, there's nothing.
The Chief and Bicycle and Comedy Festival was made possible in part by a grant from the City of Trinidad Tourism Board. It's in every one of his books.
So we could ask him to put our logo on his book. He can do that if this is last year's and he hasn't printed it yet. So we can ask him to put the logo on the book if we're gonna give him money, and then it brings a lot of money to town.
And it's $2,500. And it's.
He's asking for $5,000.
Right,
Oh,
and last year we gave him $2,500.
Okay, that was what was on my mind.
That's what I would like to run with.
From,
Okay, so you did a little graph over there that
I
I
said
heard you
30.
say. And you said how much would it be?
the chief,
56,000?
yeah, 50, where did I put it? 50, I wrote it down and now I don't know where I put it. It was like 56,000 if we did all of them.
Right, it's 56.
And I think Chief has people here, and he brings in all these comics. He does find rooms for some of them. A lot of them stay in hotels, and a lot of their friends come down and stay in hotels for 3 nights. So if we're talking about tax revenue coming in, and those people also go and spend a lot of money on alcohol in town, which generates a lot of excise tax for the city, or sales tax for the city, right? So I think that's something we should probably invest in. Plus, it's one of our main, like, 3 or 4 marquee festivals, right?
So when you did that number of $56,000, you left out Monument Lake though, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
completely.
Yeah.
Here's a good thing, like, he set aside, marketing and budgeting is 12,857. So he's selling tickets, so we know a portion of the advertising come out of there. So I
really don't have any
And
problem
it's-
with if you charge
and
the
it's
bills and not
and
giving them
it's
$5,000.
and it's growing. Every year it's growing. So
The best thing is this is similar to, in my thing, this is similar to sort of how Artocade started in a different
Right.
sort of way. And, Artocade didn't have a name right away. In fact, I remember the second year or third year when they had it out at the fairgrounds, there weren't that many people. But just the word Artocade associated to Trinidad helped people think about Trinidad more because of Artocade. So, it's not like everybody, but you see it. And I kind of see the Chief Bicycle and Comedy Festival the same way. Is you don't buy in only for that weekend. You buy in because you're putting that name out and that you're associated to comedy and a bike.
And now it's become a signature event.
And Trinidad is a signature event. You go to New York City, you'll find people that know Trinidad because they've been
Here's
using
a
it for so long.
little tidbit. I needed to do some email marketing for the Scenic Highway of Legends. And so I wanted to be able to embed a newsletter in the email. So when people get the email right away, they see the newsletter rather than having to open an attachment. And I researched that, and people are more likely to read it if they can see it right away. So I called Constant Contact and I said, to talk about prices and things like that. And the guy is in, I can't remember, somewhere in Delaware, okay? And he said, "Are you calling me from Trinidad, Colorado?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Wow, that's really weird." He said, "I just bought tickets for the comedy festival. I will be there this next month." He's in Delaware. And he works for
Yeah.
Constant Contact, and he's
Yeah.
coming to Trinidad for the bike festival, and I thought,
Yeah.
this is such a small world.
Yeah.
So yes, the name is out there,
It's the
Yeah.
same.
and he rides the Santa Fe, the Amtrak Chief to Trinidad.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's, this is an event that still is evolving, and evolving events take money to build, and I think we should fund it the full amount, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think that all these events actually are really great events. Monument Lake is a different sort of a cat that we have to wrestle with, but
Yeah.
the Blues Festival has surely showed their stripes. We have tons of blues stories the same way, being in airports and other areas, seeing Blues Fest t-shirts on people is so wild.
So do we vote on this now? Can we just vote on the
No.
chief?
No, this
We
is a
don't
work
vote.
session,
Oh,
so
okay.
you will
It's a work
vote on it,
session.
so write your recommendations
Okay.
down, and then you can vote on it at the next meeting.
I think using that advertising and promotion thing about the ads placed is really huge. I think,
Can we ask for accountability for these ads?
yeah, I think they do. Cheryl
The
does.
grant application has
Cheryl
been
does.
rewritten, and I sent it to you.
Uh-huh.
There are 3 new paragraphs on the actual grant application
Okay.
that said that if you do not provide backup,
Can we do,
follow-up.
if we do 5,000, can we do up to $5,000 with proof of
Yeah,
ads?
that's-
With
yeah.
proof
You
of-
don't need to do that anymore because it's on the application. So if they
Because
don't,
we used to do it so much.
If they
Right.
don't.
because we did that so many times, it's like, I'm just gonna put it right on the
And-
application.
and-
Okay,
end
but
of
what
the
if
year,
they
we always
don't, we
have
always
to
already haven't given the money?
Then they have to return the money. That's how it's written on the grant. Your money will need to be returned. It's on the
There's only a
grant.
few that actually get the money like that. There's only a few, really. Because we always end up with extra money at the end of the year from the amount that we gave because
Yeah,
of the.
well, I do think, yeah.
Yeah, it's written directly into the application now.
Well, if
they
you
do
look
not show
at his
proof-
advertising budget, it's for 12,807. So, you know, he is spending a lot of money on advertising. Probably between him and the Blues, they probably spend the most money on advertising outside the 50-mile
Yeah,
radius.
I mean, I just.
Their budgets are big for advertising, and that's basically what we're given for is the advertising,
Yeah.
so.
And, yeah, no, I totally, I hope it's I hope it gets as big.
Right,
as
you know,
the-
we want an arcade, we want a blues fest,
Yeah.
we want the comedy, we want them to grow, we want them signature things. to
Yeah,
grow.
I worry about the Blues Fest because we have built that so huge in America. I worried about Artocade. Their new directors are just fabulous now. And it's not because I'm pledged to Artocade, it's because I'm pledged to having Trinidad's name in all the different sort of pockets. And so if we have something that says bicycle in Trinidad, right?
Are
So,
we
I
through
think,
with
check,
this?
yeah, I think,
All right.
yeah. Do we just say what we wanna do, or we just keep that in our heads for next time?
I would write notes on your applications,
Okay.
so that when it comes to voting for it, this is what you decided as an
Okay.
individual.
Okay.
You guys can do a consensus in a meeting.
Right,
That is true.
Yeah.
You cannot vote, but you can do,
Yeah.
you can do it.
All right, next one.
Farmer's market.
Farmer's market.
Also, there's almost no money in that, and that helps our community.
Yeah, it's a deal. That's a deal for us I mean, how many weekends does that go over?
Yeah,
you know, it's the entire summer.
Yeah.
and it benefits our whole.
And because it's the feeling it's always about the feeling in hospitality. So when people are staying in the hotel, and again, they go down to the farmer's market, even though they have an event that night in town, be it a wedding, they feel like, hey, this is cool. Next year, we're gonna come for an extra day ahead of time.
Well, here's the thing with them, they're asking for, you have a $1,500 budget?
I thought it was 1,000.
They're asking,
You're asking for 1,000, right?
That was 2,000.
It's
I'm asking 2,000.
Request is for 2,000.
and you have a $1,500
I don't know what I
advertising.
did there.
The
You have a
total budget is only
$1,500 advertising
$1,500.
budget and you're asking for
I
2,000.
just, you
So we'll
know,
give you the
I was
1,500.
a little dizzy, okay?
So 1,500.
Yeah, let's run with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I think we should fund that too.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we need those updated stuff. So that's part of what I'm reading now is
So
part of tickets and
we're able to
hotels.
save $500 there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Canola.
You're welcome.
All right, so the Well Hotel, it's May 27th, so that's coming up soon, and they're requesting $2,500.
And
That's the
And
the
so,
Well Hotel.
So, and that's for advertising and promotional dollars? And so do they put the logo in there since it's a Well Hotel? And, that would be and that would be one of them, again, Dawn, that we would say, based on turning in the ads, we pay for, so that we can actually oversee what they're doing and make sure it's a
But
win-win
you
for.
don't, you don't need to do that anymore.
It's just-
Yeah.
just like she
You
said,
don't
it's
need to
already
do that
there.
anymore. It's already on the application,
Oh,
so
yeah,
if they
right,
do not follow the
right,
protocol,
you're right.
the
You
money
are so
has to
right.
be reimbursed to the tourism board.
Marty got it down right. She was so tired of hearing us say that.
It's like, you don't need to do that anymore. So if I do
So
not
at the
receive,
bottom of their page, they said approximate portion of the budget dedicated to a 50-mile radius of Trinidad
So that's-
is $2,000.
That's what we give, we give them $2,000, not the 2,500. Because we want to pay for the advertising outside.
well, you guys are getting good at this, look at you.
You're teaching us.
All right, next
Marty.
one. Pony
Next is
Express.
Pony Express.
I don't know, that crawfish boil's making me hungry.
He's asking for 5,000.
And they said it was last year too, they had this?
It's actually been several years,
Yeah,
but
this
he's
is
never
several
asked
years.
for support.
I think it's pretty cool.
He is actually extending it though, into the city this year.
For a
It's
second
always-
day, right?
Right, for a second day. So it's always been in Mont Carlo.
Right. And he's come to
Okay.
talk to us.
Yeah,
He
he
has
did.
come to talk to us, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I looked up this guy right the day before he came to talk to us, and like he's been doing like super job without us knowing for years.
Yep.
Maybe 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know. Yeah, but he was been doing a super job. Like I was shocked that he was so big, and he's got like his stuff online about it.
So he's bringing an extra day into the city, is that
Yeah.
what it
Yes.
is?
Yes.
It'll be on Cedar Street. It'll go east on Cedar, up Commercial, then out east on Main.
Well, this is what we've been looking for years.
Yeah.
Is these events.
This is your.
So this is the event that we want to sponsor because this is what we want.
I think we should
So.
fund this one as well.
Right.
Okay, we're moving on. I'm so rude.
With some consensus
No,
even.
yeah, I understand.
Car show, number 6, car show.
I've got my facilitator out. Let's keep
Yeah,
going.
no, good girl,
Well,
you
know-
go for it.
You know, people are always saying they want something to do in Trinidad. Well, these people are providing something to do in
Yeah.
Trinidad, so.
It's a community event.
It's a community event and people say, well, you know, there's nothing to do here in town, so I think this provides that, so I'm willing to fund them.
And this is a great family event.
Right.
It's a great family event and, you know, it's on a good,
So I'm good for that one.
I'm good for that one.
All right, we're up to 14,500.
Number 7,
Chopped off.
triggers. Well, there's
Well, I'm
no
always
brainer
good
right
for the
there. They
triggers.
want
Yeah,
$2,500.
I almost feel guilty about only
Yeah.
giving them 2,500, but that's good.
Let's, maybe we could revisit that, but anyway, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Just,
I can't say nothing now.
Okay, triggers. All right, Trinidadio.
we've been doing the monthly for the last, couple of years, and I would say to continue with that. I don't know how they're gonna survive, really.
2,400.
Because
But-
they do, I mean, the acts that he brings into town are, and it's a signature event in Trinidad.
It's just like the comedy.
Yeah.
These are the events that
I
we want to
agree.
support.
So do we do it for all 12 or do we divide this by a third so we know what our budget is for the rest of it?
Well,
You need your total amount so that you know you have what your balance is.
Okay, so 24 times 12, what is that? I don't do math in my head.
24,000 or 27,000 or something.
You did 24,000, not 2,400.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're giving your
Well, I
team
was
a
trying
big
to
budget.
do everything, I think it's around 27,000.
So 10 months would be 2,400? No, 2,400 a month for 12 months?
2,400 times 12.
Maybe about 26,000.
28,800.
Okay.
That sounds right.
I say we,
Yeah.
Okay. But that takes it for the
That's-
whole thing, so we're not dividing it, so.
yeah. What did we give them last year?
Probably close.
I think it was less than that.
No.
No, I think it's the same.
No, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're up to 45,000. Art Fest.
Now, that's a new event.
That's a
Yeah,
new
that's a
event.
new event, and you know, one thing I love about that event is that it's being held by really classy artists. So it'll end up being a fine art show, not just an art show, not that.
It is a fine art show, not a craft show, which
Yeah.
is a big difference.
It's a fine art show.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited about it. So I went to, you go to fine art shows, and they are dramatically different than art shows. And
Do you
it shows
know
a
how
different
many-
level of class.
How many entries or people that she's bringing to town?
I don't know. I talked with her about it, and I also.
Does it say in the grant?
She doesn't have no idea how many people I've talked to.
It doesn't.
She has no idea.
So
how
she's
many
setting
people.
up the systems for the artists to apply to come into
Right, and
it.
she doesn't have any idea how many will be there.
But her board is, I heard the names, I can't think of them all right now. Krista Russell's, I think her board president, is a fabulous group of movers and
She's
shakers.
on my farmer's market board.
Yeah.
But I do think she hit right here, and I'm all for whatever, but approximate portion of budget dedicated beyond 50-mile radius, 3850. So
So,
she's
yeah,
doing some in
3850.
town and some out of town, most of it out of
So
town.
3850.
So 3850 on that one,
Okay.
because that's what she's gonna spend on the radius.
Outdoor.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited
What
about
number?
seeing some great artists come to town for that show.
Oh wait, which one is this one? Oh, this is Jared's.
So we're gonna give that one out of,
No, number 11,
10.
10.
10 out of the budget?
Number
Or
10.
advertising.
Number
No,
10
Number
is
10, the Purgatory 4, is the
Yeah,
next one.
the number 10.
And that's
And
September.
he wants 2,500 on this one.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I'm going to say yeah. And then number 11, pass it over to the ask, right?
Well, you can,
We were gonna
Do a
take that
vote.
out of.
Approve the grant, but you could take it, instead of taking it out of your
Right.
grant budget, you
Gotcha,
can take it out of
okay,
your
all right.
advertising budget.
So that's out of the advertising.
So would you approve, we would have to make a
No, this is
motion
the
at the
grant.
next,
The next one's,
you
We're
would have to
talking
make
about
a
number
motion at the
10.
next,
this one is
work-
a grant, 'cause this is
regular
a grant.
meeting to pay the $2,500 out of your advertising budget. So I will have him submit an invoice,
Okay.
okay? Is that
Yeah.
how you
But
want
that's
to
on
have it?
number 11.
Yes.
Yeah, that's 11.
11, 10, we could.
2,500, we're gonna fund it.
10, you have 2,500.
Right. we're
10, we
gonna
got
fund that one.
2,500 from him.
Okay.
So that's
then you want
okay.
me to put this on the agenda as an under invoices for the next
Right.
meeting?
Yes, then
That
number
would-
11, because that is an advert, he's showing the ads right here, right?
So I will put this on your
Instagram?
financials then.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we could help him with the advertising on that.
All right, gotcha.
and so 11th is gonna be advertising,
11 will be ads.
budget, not grant money.
Okay, good job.
We still have to go back to
revisit.
K-Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
Okay.
revisit.
Okay, so we're at 52,150 if I did my math correctly, which is 50.
We had faith in you.
Okay,
What was that?
So,
52,150
so that leaves you what after your 8 from 85, what is that?
minus
30.
43,650, is that right?
No,
Let me do,
can't be.
shouldn't be right.
It comes to 90 something.
It's gonna be 20-something.
8,500,
it'll be 30 something, isn't it?
85,000, sorry, minus 52.
It's like 23?
32.
It was 32, that's what I thought it was.
32,000.
I did pretty good. I was counting on my fingers too on that one, I just want you to know. But we gotta realize Trinidad does it, we do it monthly.
It doesn't matter,
It
though. It
doesn't
comes
matter?
straight out of the budget.
Okay.
So
It's-
we gotta
it's
go
an
back to.
encumbrance.
Okay.
It's
We
considered
gotta-
an encumbrance and
Alright,
even though they take it out monthly,
okay,
it's,
alright.
you spent it.
We gotta go back to
Always.
this caveman.
Caveman.
Let's go back to the caveman.
Caveman, go. My caveman.
So, did anybody bring their caveman thing that he
No.
presented
I
at the
didn't
last
get one.
meeting?
But I don't
Did you
have
get
no,
one?
I don't have no way to print it either. I know you want me to use one on printer.
No, that one was a booklet they got brought down to us.
You know,
I
a
bought
suggestion
it.
on that, if I might make one?
Yeah.
Because like I said, you know, you got 32,000 for direct funding of it. If he can give you some money or amount of what he's paying for in advertising,
He has it
It
there.
has it.
could you take some of that funding and take it out of advertising, some of it, and then some of it out of the other balance, the 32? Would that be something you guys want to do?
Here's my view, is he says there's he's gonna do $110,000 in advertising beyond 50-mile radius. Wow. That's a
Well,
whole lot of
That's
money,
a whole lot of money for
50-mile radius.
advertising, yeah.
But it's just,
His band lineup is pretty impressive, like it's
Yeah.
serious.
Well, his advertising includes things like Billboard Magazine and American Songwriter. I mean, he's got big
dollar
advertising in here.
you know.
Rolling
it's
Stone,
just-
I mean,
I
those
mean-
are
I mean,
expensive.
I think, yeah, I like the packages. Maybe we could do a package from the City of Trinidad Tourism Board.
For a sponsorship
For
package.
sponsorship package.
That's what I was going to suggest. So
Thank you.
that's why
I knew
brought
it when
that.
I see open there, look up, I said, Marty was running us that way.
She was going that way.
So
She knew it.
he has a package here for, the silver package. That's the one, I think,
And how much was that one?
5,000. And then that way, you know, it's kind of like a new event. So, I think, you know, and I think that'd be the one. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
fabulous that he's doing it. I just think it's wonderful that he's doing it, but it's,
He will be
It's
using those
just-
sponsorship dollars for
Yeah.
marketing and
Right.
advertising
Right,
as well.
it's
He'll
just
have-
like,
he'll have
you know,
to,
it's
yeah.
just like a chair. We went and bought that thing on the
Yeah,
thing, you know,
right.
so this is by not, we're doing
You're
this.
supporting the event.
Right, we're supporting the event,
Different-
the tourism board
different
supporting,
way.
Yeah.
so I think that's,
My phone told me it's time to
I
stand.
think it's a good gesture.
You know, my knee,
My knee
my
is
knee
sinking.
saying,
All right, so can we say then on this one that we'll pay for a sponsorship package? Is that out of the same budget or is this out of a different budget?
No, this is out of-
Well,
This
that's a
is-
good question. That is a good question.
What is the budget for the advertising, Marty? Oh, you have, we have
it
it,
is
I'm sorry.
68,500.
So we already took 2,500 out of it, right, for Jared?
Yes.
So-
Well, you have other encumbrances as well.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just saying.
Because you have
I'm just
magazine
saying-
ads that are
Yeah,
I'm
coming.
just saying out of
magazine
these
ads.
grants is the only,
Mhm.
so I think we take it out of that, out of the advertising.
Out of your advertising publications line.
Right, mhm,
Sponsorship for Caveman.
right. So then that would come up on the next meeting, that's what we would give, we vote on that separately, like.
So
Jared's.
what are the benefits for sponsorship at that level?
It's 10-man cave passes for Saturday and Sunday, 10 festival t-shirts, 3 VIP parking passes, 20 sorted meal vouchers, 30-second ad on Jumbotron.
Can we count it?
And
So
a
we
company-
could go, so there's our
That's
ad, that's what I was
that's-
looking
Can
for. So
we-
on that Jumbotron, you can develop an ad and put it on his, and that could be your advertising. So
And-
that's how
and-
it will fall into your
And
advertising.
could we, with
publication.
those tickets, work with our agreement with the radio station and give some of those away
Yeah,
for
For your
advertising
tickets,
for
you do what
him?
you want with them.
I was gonna say, just, you know,
I think that would be a good idea for the, maybe Chris can come up with something really cool. For
let
them.
them keep this stuff.
So that
No,
we-
I think we should use it for further promotion.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
for promotion.
Let's
If
give
he-
those
I mean,
tickets away.
that would be
Yeah.
getting
And
Trinidad
tell him that's what
people,
we're gonna do.
that would be getting Trinidad people up there.
Okay, so when you're doing those ads, like to give away those tickets, this ad is sponsored by the City of Trinidad Tourism
Right.
Board, and, you know, we
Right,
could do a
Chris
promotion.
will come up with something really good.
Either
Okay.
that, or we could do our own drawing and put it in the newspaper that said the Trinidad Tourism Board encourages people to go there and,
Yeah.
Here-
come to City Hall and put your name in a box or figure that out or something to get the
Here's-
city
Attack
looking
the
like
mayor,
they're
you
helping
can
our
get-
community.
Attack the mayor.
Usually, I think it's really good. I think it's good that we use KCRT because we always have. And when we were through COVID, they gave us a break on that 1 year, so I think it's just, it's
Well,
good.
you
to-
have purchased ads with KCRT
Right.
anyway, so you
Well,
can
and
develop
it's
those
radio
ads.
and this is music, so there's
Right.
congruency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, listening, I really believe that you guys can give a little bit more
Mhm.
than that 5,000.
I was looking at the 8,000, so.
I think, you know, I just think that's really on the low end for a new event, is something that magnitude.
Well, you know, that's what we give for new events is 5,000.
5,000. That's
Yeah.
typical.
And 8,200 for us with 2 other go-arounds.
But we're not taking it out of the same
We're
pot,
taking this
right?
out
We're
of the
taking out
ad.
that advertising pot.
So what you're recommending is to go up to the gold package, Mayor,
The
for
gold.
$8,200?
At least that, yeah.
And because it's coming out of a
That's what I
different
was
pot, I think it's fine too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I don't know if I am. We'll go with that.
And I guess the reason why I say is a lot of these events, you know, we try to work with what I call skin in the game.
Yeah. Well, he's asking for 110.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
And we are getting something for it, so when
Yeah.
you get something for your dollar, I guess.
so that weekend, I just hope as someone who always has been involved in lots of events, I hope Highway 12 and the Sheriff's Department or
That's it,
people have
that's
things
this
a little bit more,
corporate.
right?
He did say he contacted all of them, but that's my biggest fear is people, you know,
Traveling on that
that's
road.
travel. That's what Levita was faced with. And they,
So there's,
You know, it
there's
was
6
hard
of
on
these
them.
passes.
Yeah,
Because, you know,
But
it's a
the
3-day
passes-
event, you're gonna have people coming into town.
Back, right?
Yeah, we should just-
Dinners
And
and
they're
all of this
gonna
on
be
the
coming
radio.
back and forth. Yeah, they are. You know, it'd be interesting
Raffle it all.
Yeah.
to see it all come down. I'm excited for Monument in that area, but it's gonna be a hard,
I just hope that the restaurants in Trinidad are prepared for it.
I hope, yes, I do. I
Well,
agree.
he's going
Yeah,
door to door.
he is.
He's
No, he's
really
been out
doing
to
his
see
due
them.
diligence. I'm
Yeah.
really excited.
Because I remember what happened with the, what's called the events, the first event with the, what do you call it, they closed the streets down.
half of the restaurants that were open that night ran out of food.
Oh, yeah,
I-
yeah.
For the Blues
First couple-
Fest, they
Blues
did.
Fest,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a Blues Fest, they had no
Well,
matter
and there were
clue.
some restaurants that said, we can't park in front of it, so we're not opening, which was really a disappointment, because people were banging
They
on
were
the doors
dying
that
on
were
their doors.
closed.
They
And I
had-
mean, you know, to walk the block and a half from
Oh, yeah.
around the corner is so hard.
But for, to satisfy just a few
drives
people
me
that are
crazy.
downtown, that local customers coming to eat at a restaurant, when they had quite a few pounding on their door, it would have been
man.
amazing.
I was-
So,
You know one thing that
And
I
they-
just thought of?
We have talked to them, and they are staying open this
One
year.
thing that came up last night was whenever we close the streets down, there's ADA access issues.
Right.
And maybe with some of these festivals or whatever, if you would just ask the promoters to provide maybe some ADA, I don't know, people, to move people. in and out.
We had a hard time with the Blues Fest because we had the health department on making us do that. And that's where they came in to make us put up that wire and no ADA access at all, except for the main thoroughfares, which we tried to fight them on it, and then they wouldn't budge. And so, you know, that was the hard. And then behind Tease Me, the parking lot was closed down, and they thought the Blues Fest closed it down, which was Jay Chimino that closed down that parking lot, because they were having a grand opening for their, the real estate. So there was a lot of going on there,
I
so.
bring that up, just,
Yeah.
that came up last night.
Yes, it was, and the ADA kind of fought us on that quite a bit, we lost.
so I
Just
do
do
have a suggestion about that. In the town of Frisco, they have their virtual meetings, but a virtual meeting once a month with all the business owners, and it's volunteer if you want to go. And they just give a little bit of update of what's happening to give people a heads up of what they need to know about. They did a lot of it during COVID. A lot of it was about all the constant changes. But it is really helpful. So it was usually like the town manager and somebody else from the town who would facilitate it, sometimes a couple council members, and they would just keep you abreast of, like, we're talking about these festivals, we're talking about these, and once a month for an hour. And it was it's really helpful for me as a business owner to have an idea of what's happening in the community, and I found them really valuable.
I think one of the best things that would be
In
good for the
Frisco
city
with our
is
business.
if they give like a summer calendar as to what events are happening on Main Street.
The
I
thing
know
is, there are
it's- a
so
lot of
many
times it's been
calendars
up-
floating around.
A lot of times it's been up to, but at least if you'll know what's happening on that weekend. It's not like every day is booked, but if you know
Anybody
that
that
there's
wants
a.
to know if there's an event going on in town has the tourism website calendar.
Right,
They have the Network Council calendar.
right.
They have the
Voice of Trinidad.
Voice of Trinidad calendar.
They have a lot.
New Legends has a calendar. I mean,
Tidbits have a
Here's-
calendar.
Tidbits has a calendar.
That's a great, you named 5 things there, but
Yeah.
you'll get somebody on Main Street that'll say, I didn't know that this was happening, nobody told me nothing.
there's
You
nothing
know.
you can do about that.
You know, you know,
There's
but
nothing you can do
but
about
what
it.
it creates, but what that one thing creates is unreal.
We had many
Radio
years.
has a daily calendar.
Right.
Well,
KCRT
so
does
the
it.
meetings
It's a
that we
hard.
went to weren't about calendar things. They are a little bit, like if there's a big event, they would sort of say this is coming up. But they were about sort of like this idea of this liquor for things. We would have a conversation about it. They would say it's coming up at council. If you have questions,
We
we'll
had
talk it.
work sessions open to the public.
Well, but I'm just saying that just for the business owners, and it's volunteer for people to show up, but it's a way for the town to make a connection with them. And I, as a business owner, really appreciate their reaching out and telling us what's happening and having a forum to do that, because I can't go to council meetings, you know,
Many,
or
many
things like
years
that.
ago, we
Oh,
had.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Tom
merchants-
records it.
Can I
Well,
keep
well,
this?
here, but this is in
Can I
another
keep
town,
this?
another, you know.
Ooh, it's the only one I have.
I have
can
one.
get
You
you
can
one
have
though.
mine. Yeah, I have one, you got.
Well,
The
why don't
thing
you
is,
get- why
many
don't
years
you
ago,
get
we
you
had
one, and then
Don.
I'll keep this one, because I
We
down,
had
I'm
a
down all
veterans association where we would meet
Because I
once a
use
month
it during
to
the day.
tell everybody that
I'm
was
telling
going
people
on.
about it.
Well, here,
And
But
then,
you can
This is
inform
the
about the
package that
ADA
we're
access when the
going
streets
to
are closed
get,
down, here's
so
what you
maybe
need
you
to do.
could
This one.
give
And
me
so
a
you can
copy of that.
communicate that and be
Yeah.
proactive.
ADA
Right
access.
now.
it was hard, that ADA was hard on us.
Yeah,
last
but
year.
to be able to
And then you could
communicate
still
it
get
to the
me
city,
one.
say, here's the plan, here's what you need to do so you're in compliance,
Well-
then you know ahead of time.
CTTB.
I know. But,
Thank
but that's where
They
it is.
tend to forget.
I know. That's where those things come in.
I want to adjourn this meeting at 11
Okay,
o'clock.
adjourn this meeting at 11 o'clock and I'm running.
I didn't, that wasn't much of a gavel. I can't, you gotta like smack it so I know it's over.